don't forget to manually breathe. Today we're playing Minecraft again. As always, we're playing Minecraft. Are you manually breathing? Remember to manually breathe. Get those breaths in. Good stuff. So, Barrow Man, today I've decided to go vegan. So that means that I won't hurt, kill, or eat any animals. I thought about taking this new leave in life because we gotta protect the animals, we gotta save them, and I don't want to hurt animals anymore. So that's why I'm gonna become a vegan. That being said, to become a pro vegan, I need to get some wheat. I understand that some people might say, well, to make bread, you might need some animal products, but we'll make the vegan bread. I think there's a nice recipe that I could probably ask Anthony Fantano to give me. I know he sent Drake a vegan, cake recipe? But yes. I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about changing the style of the titles of these videos, mainly because I feel like sometimes they could be too on the nose and might not seem entertaining, right, Kitty? That was entertaining, right? Dropping my $900 microphone, that was entertaining. Nah, I'm just playing. She loves messing with expensive stuff. She won't mess with like cheap stuff. If she knows it's expensive, she's gonna try her best to mess with it. She's an expensive gal. Actually, no, I don't need to do that. I did say I was gonna talk about a different topic today, but I don't really have the courage to talk about it. It involves death and just like, the inevitability of it. And this year having to face my mortality, and then losing someone in life, right, Kitty? Kitty does not care. I don't really think right now I want to talk about it. It's just too soon, and I don't have an audience. I'd like to talk about it when I do have an audience. Right now it's just not the time for that. But I will say this. While I make sure that I am recording. Okay, cool. I had to make sure I was recording. Because yesterday's episode was a mess. I recorded for 16 minutes, and yeah, none of that saved. But anyways, I am trying out, to go just a little bit meta, if you will, with my titles. It's not like I'm not actually gonna become vegan. But this might be a lot of people's first impressions, so unless I have like an actual audience, I'm gonna keep repeating myself. These videos are like diary entries, but like public diary entries. Kitty, please stop biting my microphone. Can you bite something else? These are like public diary entries where I just talk about anything. I don't really edit the video since I'm gonna just keep yapping, going on and going forward. You know what I mean? It's just me yapping. It's just me yapping, and I hope that my yap can entertain you. Without me having to like do like crazy edits and zoom-ins and pop-ups every like 5 seconds to keep your brain stimulated. None of that. I just want to make videos, talk about sometimes personal subjects, and that's just what it is. You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me, and that's fine. We'll just have a conversation. No arguing. Let's have a conversation. And that is what today's video's topic is gonna be about, or kind of about. And that is the idea of social media. Social media and how it has shaped a lot of people, especially the younger individuals, and how they think, how they act, pretty much all of that. I've noticed lately, and I try not to be on social media too much, but I've noticed lately that people have become more hateful. Just more hateful, or, negative towards stuff, or almost like you judge people harshly, yet you are not great yourself. You know what I mean? And I don't know, my way of thinking, because I used to have pretty bad and toxic mentalities because of where I grew up and where I come from. Like I come from like a, you know, I always hate saying this because I feel like I just don't look like I do. So it sounds like I'm like LARPing in a way, but I come from the hood. You know what I mean? Like grown. You know, south. That I should probably shouldn't say that. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. But I grew up in the hood. It's not like O Block, you know. It's not like there's like people being killed left and right. Creeper, what? I'm vegan. Okay, vegan powers. But you know, I know that I don't look like I come from this kind of area, but if you do come from that kind of area, you understand the type of mentalities that people have. A lot of them are like toxic masculinity or like stuff like that. Like people don't have the best father figure. The father figure that they have is someone that has been in and out of prison. You know, just stuff like that. You know, not all the time, but I did have a lot of friends that did have that or that lost family members due to gun violence. You know, I'm fortunate to not have ever experienced that, you know, in our family, but you know, it definitely is something that happens in the environment that I come from. You know, it's a lot of toxic mentalities that obviously me being, you know, raised in a certain environment, I kind of picked up on. And if it wasn't for me becoming a fucking nerd, and going on the internet, you know, at a young age, I would have really looked apart from the area that I come from, right? I got lucky that I got, ooh, spray it. You know, don't spray it. Hey, what? How did it go again? Spray it, don't say it. I don't really care. I got lucky that I got into the internet. As bad as it kind of is, it did kind of save me from being a person that I would probably, that looking at now, I would probably regret. But I've noticed that social media has definitely made people more negative and more judgmental towards stuff like that. I always try not to be judgmental, even when people have like mindsets that include not liking me for who I am, in the sense of like my skin color or just even personality. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, this fucking idiot, yeah, if you don't like me already, you find me cringy or whatever the hell, you find my voice annoying, whatever the hell you might not like about me, right? Like, I'm not gonna judge someone for not liking me. You know what I mean? Like, it's up to you. It's your decision, right? Like, it's your, what you make up in your mind on what you choose, on how you choose to perceive me, you know, as a person, right? And that's the thing. A lot of people online and on social media, they just battle it out. They duke it out and like, you know, words and shit like that. And I'm just like, what are you fighting for? It's not like you're going against a politician that's like making, I mean, you could be, but most of the time you're not. Let's be honest. You're going against somebody that's just spewing whatever the hell they saw on the internet, while you're also spewing whatever you saw on the internet. And that covers everything. You know what I mean? Like from political and all the other stuff. Like, it's the same thing. You're arguing with somebody that already just doesn't, like, probably won't agree with you. You know what I mean? Like, you, how do I put this? You're arguing with somebody online, and they have that safety of being online, so they can say whatever the hell they want to say, right? Like, cause you know, I'm trying to be vegan and stuff. You know, like me saying that I'm becoming vegan, right? Like, if somebody says, "Hey, you're not a vegan," or "I hate vegans," I'm not gonna waste my time arguing with them and saying, no, but like, actually though, like with anything, I'm not gonna argue with somebody online about BS if they already don't have a certain percent. How do I put this? Let me make some vegan bread real quick. There we go. This is vegan bread, okay? Barrel man. Let me explain it better. If you already have your mind made up on me or whatever, if you already are on one side, I'm not gonna waste my time trying to argue with you if you already think a certain way, right? Like, how do I put this? I'm really struggling to put this, and it's such a simple concept. if a lot of the times when people are arguing online and they're just throwing like insults at each other, they're not really trying to progress anywhere. There's no progression there, right? There's no progression. You're just arguing with them for the sake of whatever you're feeling. You know what I mean? And I personally feel like it's not worth my time, arguing with people online over something that I don't particularly care about. Does that make sense? Wait, hold on. Yeah, okay. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not gonna argue with somebody online because we're not gonna find a middle ground. You know what I mean? We're not gonna be like, okay, you know what? Agree to disagree. A lot of the times, people on social media, they argue, and they just actually hate each other. And sometimes it's what I really hate the most is like people trying to force you into a side. I don't like picking sides, and there's a reason for that. I think that sometimes certain sides, and I'm talking about like a lot of things, not just because some people might think I'm talking about politically. I'm talking about everything. You're picking between a lesser of two evils. I don't particularly like that. I know that's gonna make people mad, but I don't really care. I'm saying what I'm saying. Oh shit! Don't drown now. Oh, that's not good. How do I? All right, good. I don't know. I don't want to be forced to picking sides. You know what I mean? Because then, if you're saying no, you have to pick this side, I don't want to be on your side. You know what I mean? And I also don't like that people can't acknowledge their own faults. You know what I mean? One thing that I saw, I don't know if it's true, but I heard about it that people that debate and stuff like that, they, even if they know they're wrong, they'll still double down and triple down because they don't like the idea of seeming less. And I've noticed this a lot, and it really pisses me off. Like for me, and I guess probably because of how I am as a person, if I mess up, I'm willing to admit that I messed up. If I say something that I probably shouldn't have said, like if I make somebody mad or whatever, like I'm willing to say, okay, you know what, I screwed up, my bad. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect, and nobody is. Sometimes you're gonna say something that might not be good. I have done that. I'm sure you have done that as well. But I'm able to acknowledge that. I'm able to suck up my pride, but a lot of people just can't. A lot of people just they just cannot accept that they're in the wrong, or they don't want to, like, especially to somebody that they don't like, to their enemies, if you will. Like, they don't like admitting that they were in the wrong in a certain scenario, and it just, to me, it's just really childish, right? It's just really childish. I don't really understand it. I don't know. But yeah, social media has definitely allowed a lot of people to kind of regurgitate terrible shit, and then it starts big arguments, like, especially I think Twitter more than anything, because I actually was never really on Twitter. Like when I say I was chronically online, admittedly that was just purely on YouTube, sometimes Instagram. I wouldn't use Twitter. I never used Vine when it was new, or sorry, when it was out there. I never used Musically, which was like the pre TikTok, and I don't use TikTok at all. I post clips on TikTok, when I have clips to post, but I don't use it. I don't really use anything outside of YouTube. I don't really care about social media. But after the Tesla man bought Twitter, I actually thought, I'll try it out. I just wanted to see how Twitter was. I was curious. And over time, I've realized that Twitter really is just trying to push negative shit. They're trying to push, takes that would probably make you mad. Wait, let me put dirt there. Yeah. They're going to show you stuff that is going to make you mad so you can engage with it. So, you know what I mean? That's obviously because every platform is trying to keep you in said platform, right? So by them showing you something that's going to get a reaction out of you, they're going to make you stay there. And that's why they are, paying people, You know, like if you buy a check mark, you get paid for getting like a hit tweet. A lot of the times people just say outrageous shit just to get a hit tweet. That's what anytime that I see anybody, you know, anybody with like a check mark saying some crazy shit or something that I'm like, this guy, you know what I mean? I don't engage with it. Well, I don't engage with it at all. I stay quiet. But if I see that they have a check mark, I know what they're trying to do. So I'm like, all right, you know what? You have a check mark. It's almost like they're not. I don't say they're not a person, but it's almost like I just say, oh, they're just trying to make money. I don't really care about that. They're just trying to hustle. Some idiot is gonna argue with them out of money. That's what it is. I don't even take their take. Whatever they say, even if they believe it, whatever they say, I don't even take into consideration because I know that they're just trying to make a bag. So be it, right? But social media has also ruined people in other instances, you know, like dating and, you know, looks and attractiveness and stuff like that. I know that I'm chopped, you know, I'm not gonna deny that, and I also understand how people think of me because I'm fat, you know, like trust me, bro. Growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, you know, them roast sessions, you know, they're not for the weak. Let's say that. You know, there's never been a time in social media where anybody has said anything about me that has made me feel bad because I already heard the worst of it. I've been compared to every fat guy in TV and animated history, okay? So I'm not worried about that. But, you know, social media has definitely allowed a lot of people to speak on other people's looks. And it's not like it wasn't always like that. You know, back then with celebrities, you'd have like news blogs and shit like that, like TMC and all that, allegedly, talking shit about celebrities, especially like a woman and their looks, and saying shit like, you know, like, oh, you're not a real vegan. I gotta stop. Saying shit like, oh, she's fat, oh, she's gaining weight and all that, even though they're skinny, right? And especially with the women beauty standards, it definitely has hurt a lot of women, you know what I mean? And it's sad seeing it sometimes. You know, with men, I think, what problems do we really have here? I mean, it's just we're just chopped. that's about it. I'm trying to see if there's like a village in the distance. No, I'm not gonna travel too far from home because I don't know how to get back. I don't know how to make the compass to make my way back home to my spawn point. But how do I put this? It's definitely, I mean, it's always been like that, but nowadays anybody is subject to that. Like, for example, somebody like that one person that commented, you look like you eated that bees, which I know what that means, you know, what that meant, sorry. I mean, it's actually funny, I ain't gonna lie to you, that's actually pretty funny. But just stuff like that, you know what I mean? And it does hurt people's self-esteem. For me, the way that I like to look at it is, what do I think of myself? You know, do I think positively of myself? And if I don't, how do I work to improve that to get a better self-image? I don't place the importance on what other people think. But the problem is also equally is that a lot of people live with social media in mind. What I mean with that is that people have these expectations, both men and women. It goes both ways. Some people like to point fingers at both sides, but barrel men, it goes both ways. You know, some men expect a certain kind of woman, you know, and certain women expect a certain kind of man. Like, one thing that my feed shows me a lot, and I'm like, okay, like, clearly this is just people with terrible opinions or just trying to rage bait. Whatever the hell might be, is like women saying, oh, the man has to provide, but I don't have to cook for him and stuff like that. And I mean, however you feel about this, however you feel about that. For me, I've always been taught to cook for myself, you know. So when I was in college, I would clean after myself. I'd do my own laundry. That's what I learned. I don't mind doing that personally. Some people believe that that's a woman's job. That's not. I don't believe that. I think everybody should be able to take care of themselves, right? But it's just opinions like that. It's just like, it starts huge arguments and it becomes a man versus woman thing. Bro, I didn't build that so you go up there. Why do you go up there? But the thing is, like, yeah, like, it shows, you know, it's putting controversial opinions out there, right? So you engage with it. You know what I mean? Whether the people that post that believe it or not, or it's just rage baiting. I mean, rage baiting has become a huge thing now that I almost don't take anybody seriously. You know what I mean? When people just talk shit. So like right now, if you commented something bad about me, I won't engage with it, because you also choose. There's another thing that I've learned in life. You know, through again being a short, fat man, and you being essentially the one getting teased the most. You know, there's two ways to take this. Either you let it get to you and give them the reaction that you want, or you really understand, okay, what is their objective here? What are they trying to do? Okay, they want a reaction out of me. All right, bet. They won't get anything, right? Even if I feel some kind of way, they will never know that they made me feel some kind of way. So when anybody says anything negative, because even before this YouTube shit, I would make music. I would get people that would DM me, go out of their way to say that my music was shit. You know, even then I'm like, okay, if I respond to them and argue with them, what do I gain from this? I don't benefit anything, because regardless, it won't change bro's mind. Bro still is not gonna like me. Bro's not gonna like my music. Just like here, if you don't like me, no matter what I do, you're not gonna like me. You've already made up your mind that you think that I don't know, that I'm not cool, or I don't know, whatever you've made up your mind on me about, I'm not gonna change it, and I'm not gonna make the effort to change it, because that's what you think of me, right? So whether you see me as in a positive light or you don't, that's on you. I'm not gonna, ask that you like me as a person. You know what I mean? If anything, I also feel like I didn't really finish my thought earlier, so allow me to do that. I feel like social media has created unrealistic standards of what you should expect from other people, and not just in relationships. I think that's probably the biggest example that I would have, that people expect certain things, and I just feel like you live your life in social media and stuff like that. I think that, I don't know. I found that people that argue a lot on social media or have expectations that are based from social media usually end up being more miserable. Just go outside and live life a little bit. And it's coming from somebody that barely goes outside. Social media is not real life. I've come to find that out, and and it makes sense to me. You know what I mean? It's almost like I look at social media as just like an outlet for the worst kinds of people. You know what I mean? That they can publicize how they feel, and sometimes they get support for it. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, wow, people are crazy out here. But again, I try my best. It's also for my own like safety in my head, or like my own peace of mind. I try my best to, if I see something that I don't agree with on social media, I just say, it's just the internet. You know what I mean? Just for my own peace of mind as well, because sometimes I be seeing shit and I'm like, holy shit, I hope that most people don't think this way, because it's crazy. Again, I'm talking about the ones that like don't even have a check mark. So if they are rage baiting, they're doing it for the love of the game, which I don't know if I should respect it or be disgusted by it, because come on, bro, spend your time doing something else. But I mean, just in general with people as well, like people judge others harshly over, again, like negative shit. And like I said, over time, because of how I used to be, and I've matured a lot, I've kind of grown this mindset that sometimes people like me, right? A lot of the mindsets come from where you come from your environment, whether it's like your parents, like if you are like, I guess you could say racist or whatever, like, where do you get that from? It's definitely from your environment. I don't think anybody is born with hate in their heart. You know what I mean? I don't think so. It's all based on, your environment. So I try my best to not judge people for their environment, or argue with people that are from a certain environment and don't like me, because at the end of the day, either you'll make that change someday and realize, you know, that certain mentalities are not good, either you realize that or you won't, and I just won't be near you, right? That's kind of the thing. It's like I'm not gonna try my best to convince people or argue with people that already don't like me. You know what I mean? I already had iron, bro. You know, I'm not gonna try my best to convince people that don't like me or argue with them because it's not gonna change anything. You know, we can sit there arguing online for hours, but it's not gonna change how you feel about me. So why should I waste my time? Why should you waste your time? I don't know. Maybe you like arguing, but I don't. I don't like that lame shit. I don't like that. I like peace. You know what I mean? I like peace. I like to have my own peace of mind. I don't. I don't like arguing. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why I'd waste my time on that. You know. But each their own, right? I don't know. I think I did mention this as well with how people treat, like, I don't want to say celebrities, but just really anybody in general online, where like when people mess up, you know, people have this thing where like they judge them too harshly, yet you are not perfect. Like people are willing to judge people. They make another hoe. People are willing to judge other people over the most smallest things, yet you are also not perfect either. You know what I mean? I think that's really hypocritical. You know, it's pretty hypocritical. You know, to point out somebody's flaws, even if they're minute, right? Or based on misinformation or a bad environment, when you probably have your own toxic mentalities. That's why I don't like to judge people, because I'm not perfect myself. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect. No, nobody really can be, but I mean, like, I have a lot of my own personal flaws. I feel like it'd be hypocritical for me to go and point out someone else's flaws if I'm not working on my own, right? For me, my mentality is, can I help you with what you have in your mind? Do you have poor self-esteem, and you're using that poor self-esteem, you know, you're displaying that with hatred, with anger. You know what I mean? Some people are insecure, and to kind of hide that in a way, they become an angry person. So can I help you with that? You know what I mean? Do you like my help with that? You know, like, I like to talk to people and just help them out, right? Just like how I like when people, like, I have conversations with people, and we talk about, you know, certain issues. Not because I want pity, not because I want people to feel bad for me. It's because I want to have conversations with people about certain stuff, right? Certain situations. And, you know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like that's more productive than arguing online. Or, yeah. Because nobody learns anything from arguing. You don't learn anything from that, right? You just end up like getting anger, you know, and that's it. So that's just what it is. You know, it's not like I'm perfect. Like I've said before in my anger video, I feel things heavy. There's definitely things that I see that make me mad online, comments that I received, but I've learned, and I'm right every single time in that sense, that also that was my notification if you heard that, so don't check yours. I've learned that if I let it go and I don't let it bother me, it stops, like, I don't remember it. It stops existing. Right? That's just what it is. You know what I mean? But if you engage in that argument, you're going to be there for hours, and it's not going to be anything productive. It's just going to be hate. It's just going to be hate. You know, that's just how I see it. You know, social media has definitely made people, I feel like, me personally, I feel like it's made people more angry, more negative, you know, more argumentative. You know, it's made people more paranoid. It's made people hate on, you know, whatever it is, whether it's religion or whatever, like, whatever it is. Whatever is not your side, it has made people, instead of having productive conversations and, you know, or really, you know, just anything, right? You pin the blame solely on the other side when both sides have demons. You know what I mean? Again, when it comes to everything, you know what I mean? Both sides have demons, right? And I think to me is like I've learned to I'm not gonna waste my time, arguing with people that I don't really care about. If I was to die tomorrow, why am I gonna argue with somebody today who doesn't care if I die tomorrow, right? So I save my arguments and anything like that with people that I actually care about. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not perfect, trust me. Like I said, I feel things heavy a lot of the times. But I'm trying to become better at not letting things get to me. You know what I mean? Because this is what it is, right? Life is about you. You know what I mean? I mean, it isn't at the same time. You're just a speck in this world, and this world is a speck in a large vacuum of life. But don't let that make you scared. Just recognize that you should live for yourself, because you only get this life. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like always, I'm gonna say this every single time. If you have a dream, if you have something that you want in life, go after it, because you're only getting older and you're gonna regret the time that you didn't spend going after it. Just like me, I forgot to mention this. Actually, I should have mentioned this. It's important. I've worked out today. I actually did work out. I don't know why I didn't mention this. I did work out today. You know what I mean? Didn't do it for long, because it's the first week that I'm doing this. But like I said 2 weeks ago, because today is the 2-week anniversary of me making this type of content. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I was going to work out, and I'm making it happen. So you got to have that mentality that you can make it happen. Don't doubt yourself. You definitely can make it happen. You just have to believe in yourself, and just work towards it. Because consistency is doing it every day as much as you possibly can. It's okay if one day you don't do it, like the other day. Like, you might not do it. You might not do much in one day, but strive to do better, and don't beat yourself up if you don't do great one day. That's okay. I hope you have a very fantastic rest of your day.